When we're talking about graft types for ACLRs, so anterior cruciate ligament reconstructions, there isn't really any winning. They all are going to have their downsides and their upsides. At the end of the day, it's quite a personal decision. As a bit of a general overview though, we're going to have our most common ones are our quad tendon, our patellar tendon, and our hamstring tendon. So your surgeon might have a preference, but you might have a preference as well. And sometimes it does even come down to just the size of your tendon. With the patellar tendon, you're gonna have a bit more pain on the front of your knee. Kneeling might be a little bit harder to begin with. And that initial phase of your ACL rehab might be a little bit slower, but usually you catch up in the later stages and it doesn't become a problem. It is that knee extensor mechanism, so that does become a little bit more of a challenge at the beginning. But again, with proper rehab, that can be completely overcome. Hamstring grafts are still quite common. Those ones leave you with a little bit of a smaller scar on the front of your knee. So that is a little bit better and you can kneel on your knee without having problems. As well, the beginning phases of your rehab might go a little bit quicker just because you aren't as limited by the front of the knee pain as you are with a patellar graft. As you're rehabbing your ACLR, our hamstring deficits are usually there for quite some time if you did have a graft from your hamstring. So that's something to always keep in mind too. Then with your quad tendon, there is a little bit less of that very front knee pain, although it is still part of your quad muscle, and therefore you will still have some problems with the extensor mechanism in through the quad. But again, with the proper rehab, you can overcome that problem. All have their pros and cons, and I've not covered absolutely everything that goes on with each of these grafts, but one of the main things to consider is that it still is a major injury to that tendon. And so with your rehab and with your physio, you do need to address the ACLR itself, but then you also need to address your site where you got the donor graft. And so that will be either your quad tendon, your patellar tendon, or your hamstring, and you need to address that like another major injury so that you can move forward as best you can so that your knees are as good to go for as long as you need.